Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Potter's House, Moreno Valley Live. Welcome to our Life Lab talks, heart-to-heart talks on the battles of life. We're going to be doing some uncut conversations on all things relating to love, life, and living. So we want to welcome everyone out to our first one. Everyone's going to have the opportunity to ask Pastor Cary questions. So send in your questions. We're on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. On YouTube, it's the Potter's House MV Live. And on Facebook, the Potter's House Moreno Valley. Type your questions in the chat, and we will try to get to those as soon as we can. So let's start off our talk tonight with Pastor Cary. Thank you, Pastor Cary, for joining us. So let's start off with the origination of Life Lab. What inspired this?
Well, I've been thinking about doing something like this for literally probably a couple of years, talking to some of the young men. And really I just wanted some format where you could talk about some things that you don't ever get a chance to talk about. There's a lot of things that people go through that we don't even know their story, or we don't know what they've gone through, or we don't know how they made it through some of these dark moments or battles. And I think sometimes if you have the opportunity to talk to someone about one of these battles, and they tell you how they went through it or what they did, then it seems like it can arm you. It gives you some information that you would have never gotten if you've never had the opportunity to even ask that question. So I just wanted to have some kind of format where there's no format per se, no agenda, and I'm not sure how long we would do these, what nights we're even going to do it. Later on, I changed the name from Life Lab to something else. I knew I needed to have a name, so I came up with the name, but we'll name it something else. But the name is not the important thing of these discussions. I'm just hoping that someone may ask one question. I may get to one question every time we do this, but hopefully in the answer is going to help a number of people deal with something that they're dealing with, and going through. So they could ask a question about it, worry, or they can ask a question about anxiety, anything to do with life and living and loving other people, just almost anything. And so I don't know where this is going to go, which is I'm taking one chance. It's a big chance because it could go terrible or it could go okay, but I'm beyond that in the sense of it is what it is, do as best we can, but at least we're trying to reach people, trying to help people, and that's the bottom line. I just wanted to try to find a way to help people besides what we already do to help people. A new form, a new format, a new way. This generation seems like they love conversation. They love just to sit and listen to other people talk sometimes for hours. Joe Rogan is an example. His podcast, he started many years ago, and he didn't plan on doing what he's doing. He just started doing it. I think he's the number one podcaster in America, and he just signed like a $100 million deal with Spotify. But that shows you that there's a lot of people that just sit there and listen, and all they do is sit and talk. Nothing in particular. Sometimes it's not very good talk sometimes, but very informative. So there's people out there that listen. And so ours obviously is different. It's a clean format, but hopefully it's find some practical answers. And I may say something that it doesn't help someone, but it might help one person, and that's okay. So here you go.
Going off of what you said also about the no format, why the word lab?
Well, I just thought life is a laboratory. You're always mixing things, trying to find a solution for a problem. And that's what it seems like to me. Life is a laboratory, and you're always trying to figure it out. And you figure it out your whole life, and it's almost like, to me anyway, you never figure it out. It's a constant. You're the chemist, and you're constantly trying to figure this thing out, make these things work together. And to me, that's what it's like. It's a laboratory, a laboratory, and just trying to figure it all out. And it seems like we really don't figure it all out because there are no simple answers. People think there are no simple answers. And what works for one person may not work for someone else. But I bet the people who are listening to me, they all have things in their life right now that they look at and they don't have an answer for, and they're trying to find a solution. So there you go. To me, that's an example of, or a picture of, perfect picture of Life Laboratory. And they're trying to find that solution. And it's finding that solution that we struggle with ourselves, with what we believe, with our own dignity. Just makes life what it is. And so hopefully we can talk about, hopefully finding some solutions for people. Or experiences. I'll share maybe some experiences.
Yeah, all right. We have our first question in here on Facebook from the Door in Barbados. They're asking about the Andronicus dogs. They want to know if you're still breeding dogs and about the Andronicus brand.
Well, that's funny you should bring that up. I never even entered my mind about the dogs, but it's funny because I go to speak at churches in years back, and bad or good, some of the people would walk up to me and say, "You're the dog guy." And I won't get into the story of Andronicus right now, unless maybe one of these times I will, maybe. But no, I have a friend breeding them now in Northern California. A friend of mine that breeds them. He's the only authorized breeder of the Andronicus in the world, and he's keeping the program going. I talk to him. He helps me. I'll be getting one soon. But no, I don't do any more myself because of my health issues. I don't have the energy to do it anymore at all. In fact, I have not had any puppies probably for myself to sell or anything like that for 10 or 15 years. And people think I'm still doing it all the time, which I'm not at all. But I still involved in the Andronicus, still working with the Andronicus program any way I can. But my friend up north has taken the program. Donald Stocks has taken it, and he's the official guy who's breeding the Andronicus now. So.
All right, interesting. So you mentioned your health and that with your not being able to breed and be involved as much anymore. So we have a question on YouTube from Brother Vince Lopez. He says, oftentimes people use hardships in their lives as an excuse to not try or to do the absolute minimum. He said, with your condition, maybe you want to go into that as well, what your condition is. What keeps you giving your all and not letting it hinder you from life?
Well, I would like to say, I'm giving it my all, but I'm sure I can give more. I could give more. And I agree. I think for a lot of people, they use it as an excuse. I think what keeps me, I guess, moving forward is one thing. I won't go into the disease tonight, but it's called mixed connective tissue disease. It's basically 3 diseases that kind of overlap, and I don't even remember the name of the diseases, and I don't care to, but I think anytime you get sick or have a disease or have something happen to you that changes your life completely, where you no longer can do what you used to do, or through a crisis. One thing about crisis or tragedy or difficulty or darkness, it definitely gets your attention. And for myself, what kept me going before was, I could honestly say, was my passion for a few things. The dogs are important, but not that important. A lot of other things are fun, but they're not really that important to me. But what is important to me was my family, my kids, my grandkids, and this church. And so my life got narrowed down real quick, and probably the last 6 years more than ever before, that all my energy, all my time would go into what I do here, how I can help here, and help the people here. And so now it's just, with that in mind, my framework is anything I'm doing, I always ask the question, is this going to help me as a Christian? Is this going to help me on Thursday nights? Is this going to help me on Sunday? In light of time, I only have so much time, everyone does. But it's completely reframed me in the sense of all I have is so much time, And I ask that question every day. Is this going to help me? And I don't like to waste a lot of time, because I ask myself, what I'm doing, what I'm doing, is this going to help me become a better person, a better pastor, a better husband? And if I look at it and it's not going to help me, then I generally kind of just stay away from it and go on my way. So my life, to me, has been narrowed down to just a few things. And that's like getting up, studying, praying, talking to God, and trying to be what I could be for my own family, for the church. That's it. That's my energy. That's all I have really left to give. And so I focus it just at those places, because I really don't have anything else to give to. If I did, then I couldn't do what I'm trying to do now. And I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to do what I'm doing now. How many more years? I have no idea. But I believe for the best that I'll be able to do it for many more years. We got great guys. Earlier we heard the guys speak. There are people in the church. There are young men in the church, Esteban, Vince, Nick, yourself, that are a great blessing, that can speak and that can help, and Tim. So without others, I couldn't do this. But with the people we have helping, it's made the world a difference. And so that's I hope that kind of answers it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that does. Next question, we have a question from Elliot Johnson. He says, Pastor, what do you do, or what do you invest in for your personal mental wellness?
What do I invest in for my personal mental wellness? The question might be too complicated for me. That sounds like something Elliot would ask. I guess Elliot should ask his own question and answer it. Well, I glean through a lot of books, and I'll listen to a lot of books on tape, different ones. I got a couple different ones I've listened to, and I don't always enjoy, because sometimes I'll listen to a talk, either like Dr. Radio. I'll listen to different things that have nothing to do with what I'm doing, but I want to learn. And I'll listen to sometimes a book that I have no really desire in that subjects at all. I don't know nothing about it, but I'll make myself listen. And there's other times I'll go through and listen to books, Christian books. Sometimes I'll listen to a lot of books that are not Christian in the sense, but they're very informative books, very inspirational books. And that really seems to help me, because there's a lot of knowledge out there. And today we have so much knowledge available that's available to people. There's no reason to be ignorant. Yeah. So I think so far, and I don't know for sure, I think I've gone through almost 400 books in the last 12 months. Maybe it might be 350, but I've listened to some of the books 3 and 4 times, and that's helped me a lot. And say, it may sound impressive. It means nothing, because you don't remember it all. You don't remember, but there are moments I listen to something, and it'd be something to me. It would be very, very good, refreshing, different, and just help me and give me some knowledge, give me some understanding about something that I don't understand about how we are, the way we act. So that's one that helps me. And then, of course, the music. I like listening to music, ocean waves and stuff like that. I think that just helps me deal with life. So I don't know. There you go.
The ocean. Listen to the ocean. I like that. Okay, we have another question from Twyla Mendiola. It says, knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself when you first started ministry?
What would I say to myself when I first started ministry? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is not just with ministry, but I think with living. You hear it from your parents all the time. Time goes by fast. You grow up so quick. But when you're young, you hear that and you say, you're young, it seems like time crawls. You go through high school, it's like it takes forever to get out of high school. Before you know it, you're out of high school, and years have passed by. Before you know it, you've been out of high school for 20 years. And just like life, though, I would say, it's like after you live, you lose loved ones, and then you remember, or then you think about, if I knew I was going to lose this loved one, knowing how you feel after their death, you wish that you would have cherished them more before they died. You would have wished you would have spent more time, you would have taken the time to listen to them when they're talking to you. But you can't get that perspective unfortunately, until it's past. So kind of answering the question, I would just say this. One thing is you realize after being in church for a while or being a pastor is that in the early days, I think Christians, sometimes we can be so zealous, we can kill people, almost like with Peter, he takes the sword out and they come to arrest Jesus and he cuts off the ear and of one of the servants that come to arrest Christ. I think sometimes we cut the ears off people that want to hear Christ, but we cut their ears off because of we're so zealous. We mean well, but I think sometimes we can do some damage, not just to do damage, though we do that, but I think sometimes we can be very hard on people. And I've always said this, but I've tried to get it more and more probably the last 10 years. I've always felt that people need compassion, and I could have been a lot more compassionate. And looking back, I wish I was a lot more compassionate. And so that's one thing I would do. I'd bring more compassion, because I realize now more than ever before, so many people are hurting, and you have no idea the pain they're living with or walking in every single day. And I don't think anyone can get like I've told people, you can't overdose on encouragement. Yeah. I don't think people can get enough of it. I mean, I've never known encouragement. I had to tell somebody, stop encouraging me. Stop. That's just too much. I can't handle that. I think we all can use all the encouragement, compassion, and love we can get from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Next, we have a question from YouTube. Our brother Jason Ariano. This is a little. We're going to make a quick left here out of ministry. He wants to know who you think the greatest of all time is in MMA.
The greatest of all time in MMA?
Besides yourself.
I can't. That's a joke. If you're listening, don't think you're out there. What is he? No, I don't do. I would think two people come to mind, and GSP and John Jones. John Jones, when he fell years back, about 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, whatever it was, I tweeted something about John Jones after he had fallen. And I said in that tweet, in fact, I sent it to his manager. I got his manager's email. I sent it to him. And the tweet said, basically, because he had fallen, I said people couldn't believe that some of the things he's done, and they went on and on. I don't know why everyone wants to throw dirt on anyone and everyone when they get the opportunity to do it, because the truth is people can find dirt on every one of us. But they all ganged up on him, what a terrible guy it was, can't believe what he did. And I said, I can believe what he did, because this is what we're made of. We're sinners saved by grace. We're not perfect human beings, and we will never be perfect. And I said, John Jones, if he chooses to come back, he will rule and reign the light heavyweight, and he will go on to the heavyweight. He'll rule and reign the light heavyweight, and he will go on to heavyweight and rule and reign in that realm both. So he'd be the heavyweight champion and the light heavyweight champion, and he will go down as the greatest that's ever lived. I said that before he ever made his comeback. I believed in him. And I still think that at the end of the day, him and GSP were probably the two greatest.
Yeah. GSP definitely one of the humblest I've ever seen, too.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to Facebook from Lisa Ariano. She says, is there something more that you wish the church was doing to meet community needs?
absolutely. But you have to have people that have a passion to meet the community needs. There's a sermon I've been working on, and it deals with actually the church's name. I would like to see our church. It's easy to say this, what I'm going to say, but you have to have people that are willing to do it, to do the activity. And that's, the Potter's House, Moreno Valley Potter's House, a city church is what we're going to be describing it as time goes on. We would change the logo and stuff. It's Potter's House, Moreno Valley, but it's a city church because I believe the church is here for the city. I believe God put us here for the city. And so we need to have people that not just believe that, but they are proactive in the sense that they find out what some needs are that we can help the city. I think we should try, and we do a lot for our size that we do, but I also believe there's always room for more, but not the same people can be doing everything. But whatever those needs might be, whether it's backpacks for kids at school or helping, whatever it might be, clothes, whatever we can do that the city's got a need, I think the church and our church, I can't point the finger to any other church, but our church find a way to make ourselves available like Cindy had done for years with the puppet team. We did it for the city at the park, and they appreciated that. Other things we've done with the city, they've appreciated that. They thanked us for that. They needed help. We helped them. The high school, if you go I think it was a year ago, I went to the city's December's, not play, but their symphony thing where they all sang some songs. And the decorations that were there were all from our church. The tree was from our church, and the decorations, I believe, from our church. And those were all stuff that Cindy got from our church and at school. And in fact, when the teachers came up to us and one of the superintendents started talking, and they said to us, "Thank you for having your church involved, helping our school." I think stuff like that and trying to find a way to do more of it and find out what the needs are and do what we can to meet it. It would be good to have someone that would take up that ministry, that would lead it. You have to have someone to lead it that'd be willing to do that, because I believe that's what we're here for. And in a sermon I've already written 9 months ago about that church and that name change, and I believe this strongly. Like in California, there are people that are leaving California by the droves. There's people coming in too, obviously. And people have said to me, other pastors even said to me, I bet you can't stand that place. I bet you can't wait to leave that place. And my attitude is the total opposite. And my attitude is, why would it? No, I don't. I look at it totally different. We are a light in a dark world. And no, I don't look and allow what's going on here to run me out of here. That's why we are here. I don't even look at it like that. I love this place. It doesn't matter. They're not Christian. Well, okay, most cities are not Christian. So what does that mean? It means absolutely nothing to me. But we're here so they can become Christians. We can be that light in this dark world. I don't care what crazy laws they pass in California. I don't care how liberal they may become or do. To me, that's no reason to want to leave the very place God placed you. In the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah tells the people, and they couldn't believe it, because the other false prophets were prophesying. Jeremiah said to the people, and God spoke through them and told them, the city, you pray for the city, because as the city goes, so goes you. And he tells them, basically, you plant, you live, have wives, live your life in Babylon. So I'm going to call the sermon, I think, Loving Babylon. People think I'm crazy. But that's exactly what he said. No, you guys need to live your life. And he says you need to pray for the city, because as this city goes, so goes you. It's not us against them. It's us for them and trying to help them. Yeah. That's my take on it. And I'd love to see more of that. And I'll be preaching that message, down the road here. I don't know when, but there's my little take on that.
All right. Make sure you tune in for that sermon, Loving Babylon. Next, we have our Robert Reyes. I think if I understand the question correctly, he's asking on behalf of someone else. It says, for a first-time pastor pioneering in New York, what's the one piece of advice or piece of advice that you'd give him to hold on to?
Honestly, I'm not sure I could even give him an advice, because in New York, it's a whole new thing. It's something. I've only been there a few times, period.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly, because I've never been in that environment, and I'm not sure what advice I'd give them. Other than the obvious advice, but I think maybe the obvious might be just simply find needs and meet them. There's people God will put you in their pathway, and just find a way to bless those people that God puts in your paths. And my attitude goes back to City Church. When I meet businesses and different people I meet, owners, whatever, of a business, I try to do all I can to bless that business, to bring them business, to bless that business and help them. And I think just having the mentality of not to take, but what can I give, that's totally different, because most people are into taking, not giving. I think if your attitude, your posture is, how can I give, how can I bless, I think that place can open many, many doors, period.
Okay.
We would say, go ahead and check. I'm just going to check the time, because I'm not going to have this go on until Jesus returns.
Perfect.
Let's do one more question, and that'd be it.
All right, one more question we have right here on Facebook from Nick Johnson. He says, for some Christians in the early years of our salvation, we tend to see the affairs of life in strictly black and white. But as we mature, we begin to notice that there are gray areas. What are some of these things that you saw as black and white that you may now understand have gray areas?
Actually, I'll just say, Nick, you tell me about those gray areas and not discuss them. But I'm not gonna. I don't know. But since that's a no-go, Nick, we'll answer that some other time, or he can come up with what he means himself. We can go to one more question then.
Okay. All right. Another question we have here is, what 3 people in your life have influenced you the most?
What 3 people have influenced me the most? I'd say, obviously, my parents. But I think that's a given. I would say my pastors, Pastor Silvergaddis. I would say him and his wife. And at a point in time, when you're new, people's influence sticks to you for a long time. Mm-hmm. And we started attending church, him and his wife, and Kathy Webb. Probably those 3 people of our lives, that I would not be here sitting talking to you if it wasn't for them reaching out to me and my wife and helping us. And that's just the truth. Sometimes people forget the people that help them along the way. And I don't want to be one of those people that forget who helped me. And I've never forgotten what they've done for me. I never forget what Kathy has done for me. Kathy is very ill right now. I will be indebted to her forever, and Pastor Gaddis, his wife, because I wouldn't be here. And I'd throw one other guy, the guy that really preached to me, that if it wasn't for him speaking to me, I'm not sure I would have ever became a follower of Christ. Not sure. His name was Robert Perez. He'd preach and preach, and I don't know where I'd be. Maybe I'd have went to prison, like my brother, and spent time in prison. I don't know, but Robert preached to me, and I thank God he took the time to tell me the truth. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He just told me straight up about things that I didn't know nothing about, because I didn't grow up in a Christian home. But he told me the truth. I was lost, and I needed Christ. And he told me, you're going to hell. And I thought, why am I going to hell? I haven't done anything. Well, I didn't realize it. I'd done a lot of things. Truthfully, I lie, I cheat, steal, a lot of things. And he said, but you don't have to. He told me, which I never heard this before. I know living in America, everyone's heard the gospel, but I never heard it that way. He told me Jesus was coming back, and I thought he was just here. What's he coming back for? And I meant it. It was a sincere question. I said, well, what's he coming back for? He's coming back for you. I said, why is he coming back for me? And then he began to tell me the plan of salvation, of Jesus Christ dying on the cross for me, for my sins. And if I accept him into my heart, Jesus will forgive me and change me. That's why you have to accept the forgiveness of Christ. You have to accept what he did for you on the cross. And I didn't understand all that. Like I said, I didn't grow up in church. So I just simply took what he said, thought about it. And I knew one thing, I didn't want to wake up in hell. But I knew somehow inside that what he was saying was true. And I asked Jesus, I got down on my knees, and I asked Jesus to forgive me. I asked him to forgive me of my sins. I asked him to come into my life, change me. And basically I said a very short prayer. And at my mom's house in the bedroom there. And from that moment on, the next day I'd gotten up and I was radically changed. I mean, completely changed the very next day. And I don't know what happened. And I tell people, I don't know. All I did was cry out to God. I just asked him to help me. And he radically changed me.
Very good. Very good, very good. Any last things you want to say before we end this?
No, I just want to say those who took the time to listen to it, maybe you can invite other people next time to listen in with you and have some questions about life. They say a lot of people right now are wondering what life's all about. And they like just to ask somebody some questions. You know, let me give you an example and just it maybe makes sense, which is very sad. When Barbara Diaz, her son, died, 25 years old, she called. I got her number from Sandra, and I called her. And it was sad because when I called her, she said, Pastor, all I want to know is how much you're going to charge to do the service. Will you do the service, number one, and how much will you charge us? And she said this with tears. And I thought, how pathetic, how terrible that, and nothing against Barbara, but just how, for a lot of places, it's become all about money. It's become all about somewhere we lost the way. Somewhere we got sidetracked. Somewhere we ended up someplace we should never be. The first question should never be, how much is it going to cost me? And I said to Barbara, it's not going to cost you anything. I'm not asking for a dime. I don't want a penny from you. We're here to help you any way we can. Said, I don't know if I can do both services. I will try to at least do one. Maybe Esteban could help me, which he said absolutely he would help. But I thought it was so sad that in her mind, because that's very typical. We've had people in the past that was supposed to have a funeral service at another church. At the last minute, the church says, no, you can't have it here. I've had other people want to have a service at a funeral, and they couldn't afford their own church that they went to was going to charge them a lot of money. I just think that's so sad. And so I'm saying this, not all churches are alike. I don't know what someone else says or believes in their churches exactly, but I know what I stand for, and I know what I want to see happen here. That's not what we're really about at all. Sure, we want to pay our bills and be sufficient, absolutely, but we want to be a place that people could call if they have nobody and they need help, and they maybe they even lost a loved one. That the word to get out that Potter's House, Moreno Valley is here to help you. That would be the people that say, you know what, they're going to help you. The first thing that doesn't come to their mind, like a lot of places, how much money is going to charge somebody. Shame on that pastor and shame on those churches who do things like that. So I just say for next time we do this, again, we'll answer the questions that come in. You may have a few yourself you want to ask me, but I just want to offer this to people, this forum, this format. like I said, the bottom line, I said it in the beginning, I'll say it in the end. We just want to help people that are hurting.
Absolutely.
That's all.
All right. You heard it yourself. We do thank you guys for joining us. Please, if you think of any questions during the week, until we do the next one, write it down, or you can even send it to Pastor Cary's email. You can post it to our Facebook, and we could keep those questions even for next time. But if you write a question, please tune in. That way you can hear the answer, right? We will continue doing these, and look for an announcement of when the next one will be. That way you do not miss it. Bring your questions. We do thank you again for joining us. You guys have a great night. Until next time, thank you.